All right, it's happened. Bitcoin has absolutely smashed its all-time high. And the entire crypto world is buzzing. But what's really driving this incredible rally? Is it just hype? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig deep, go way beyond the headlines, and look at what the actual on-chain data is telling us about what might be coming next.
That's right, over $125,000. And listen, this isn't just a tiny step up. This is a massive, massive surge past all those old resistance levels, setting a brand new peak for Bitcoin. It's a huge deal.
So the big question on everyone's mind is this just another wave of hype-fueled FOMO, or is there something much bigger, much more fundamental, happening right there on the blockchain? That's exactly what we're going to figure out. Okay, so at the very heart of this rally, you've got this classic economic battle, right? It's the unstoppable force of demand crashing into the immovable object of supply. And right now, that fight is really reaching a fever pitch.
So what we're seeing is a market in serious tension. Think of it like a tug of war. On one side, you've got this incredible demand. New capital is just flooding in, and wallets are in full-on accumulation mode. But pulling on the other end of the rope, you've got growing pressure from sellers, especially long-term holders who are deciding now's a good time to take some profits.
And to see just how strong that buying pressure is, let's look at a metric called the Accumulation Score. It's basically a gauge from 0 to 1, and right now, it's sitting near 0.7, which is deep in the strong buy zone. This tells us that wallets across the network are actively scooping up Bitcoin.
But, and this is a huge but, at the exact same time, we're seeing the complete opposite from the long-term holders. The total amount of Bitcoin they're holding is dropping, and dropping sharply. That's a clear signal that these experienced investors are selling into the rally, taking their profits, and adding a ton of supply back into the market.
So what do you get when you have super strong buying meeting super strong selling? You get a standoff. And this tells us something absolutely crucial. This isn't just a simple one-sided rally. It's a sign that the very character of the market is changing. We're seeing a fundamental transformation happening right now.
And that transformation is all about a shift in the market phase. You can kind of think of it like a rocket launch. We're moving out of that initial explosive liftoff and into a more complex, delicate phase of guiding the ship into orbit.
So let's break that down. What's the difference? Well, an advancement phase is that pure explosive growth. It's totally dominated by new buyers and a massive flood of new capital. It's the rocket launch. A distribution phase, on the other hand, is when the long-term holders start selling their coins to all those new buyers. The price can definitely still go up, but the game is more complex. It's more of a balancing act.
Okay, so that's the theory. But what's the actual evidence? What clues in the data suggest we've actually shifted into this new distribution phase? Well, it turns out the on-chain data gives us 3 really clear clues.
So let's play detective for a second. We're going to look at 3 key pieces of the puzzle. First, the amount of new money coming in. Second, the overall level of profit in the market. And third, that behavior of the long-term holders we just talked about.
Clue number 2 is capital inflow. Here's the kicker. Even though we have a new all-time high in price, the amount of new money pouring into the market is actually way lower than what we saw at previous major peaks. A real rocket launch advancement phase is fueled by a tidal wave of new cash, and we're just not seeing that same intensity right now.
Then we have clue number 2. There's this metric called NUPL. It basically measures the total unrealized profit in the market. And again, even with the new price record, the overall profit level is still below those previous peaks. This suggests the market isn't as, overheated or euphoric as it has been during those explosive tops in the past.
So let's put it all together. A distribution phase is when the old guard, the experienced investors, systematically sell their holdings to the newcomers. But here is the most important takeaway. The price can still go up during this phase. It is not necessarily a bearish signal.
And we have proof of this from history. Just look at the 2021 bull run. After the market entered its distribution phase, the price of Bitcoin still more than doubled. It grew over 100%. So a phase change doesn't mean the party's over. It just means the music is changed.
So yeah, a distribution phase is really all about this transfer of ownership from the early birds to the new flock. And even though there's a lot of selling happening, that upward road can still be pretty long.
So if that's the phase we're in, where could the price be headed next? To get an idea, we've got to turn to the on-chain data models and see what they're telling us.
Now, how do analysts even do this? It's not about pulling numbers out of a hat. It's data-driven detective work. They analyze historical cycles, they apply these complex statistical models to the current on-chain data, and from that, they can identify a potential zone where the market is likely to top out.
And here's what 3 of the most respected models are showing right now. The MVRV model is pointing to a range somewhere between $151,000 and $200,000. An adjusted version of that model gives us a slightly lower range. And then, the cyclical band model, which is great for spotting price bubbles, suggests a top between $127,000 and $147,000.
So, how do we make sense of all these different numbers? Well, the smart way to do it is to look for the overlap. By finding the common ground, the area where these different models all kind of agree, we can pinpoint a high probability target zone for this rally.
And when you do that, it brings us to this target zone, somewhere between $135,000 and $150,000. Now, of course, this is not a guarantee. Nothing in crypto is, but it is a powerful, data-driven forecast for where this rally could potentially peak.
So, the on-chain data paints a really clear picture. We have a maturing market, a major shift into a more complex phase, and still the potential for even higher prices ahead. But in a market that is constantly evolving and surprising everyone, the biggest question always remains, will this time be different?